All right, is that time to skol with the enemy, baby? All right, welcome back to the Onebar and Lupagus show. I'm Onebar with Lupagus and special guest, Patriots Global. We got Colby joining us, talking some Patriots, talking some Vikings. It's that time to skol with the enemy. Be sure to check out Patriots Global channel. Give them a sub. They got a shit ton of subs, 18,000. He's the guy to go to for your Patriots news. Colby, appreciate you hopping on, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I mean, that introduction might have been the best anyone's ever given me. So I really appreciate that. But no, I appreciate you guys for having me on, and I'm really excited to talk about this game. I mean, a Thanksgiving game. I mean, that's the day we usually all have off and relax, but we're all kind of going to work on that day. But I'm excited still.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hell yes. How do you like Thanksgiving games, or you'd rather just relax?
So the Patriots haven't had a Thanksgiving game in God knows how long. I might have been the butt fumble, honestly, from the Jets. Like, it's been a long time since we've had a holiday game. So honestly, like, I'm kind of excited, but I mean, and we'll get into this, but like primetime games, it doesn't matter how analytical you get. Like, weird stuff happens on primetime games, the most unexpected things. So I'm a little nervous. But, the whole family's going to be around. So, like, it's still going to be an exciting time.
Yeah, weird things. I mean, especially with the Vikings playing, something weird is going to happen. Usually not in our favor. But let's get to know these Patriots a little bit. Help us understand when it comes to the Patriots. You guys you're 6-4. You guys seem like, as an outsider, kind of a very up and down, inconsistent team. Would you consider yourselves better or worse than your 6-4 record shows?
It's a great question. Honestly, I would say we're pretty pat with where we are. Honestly, I feel like if I had to say anything, I would say honestly maybe a little worse, just because I mean there's some games we should have won. I mean, that Packers game, I think if Mac Jones is in that game, I think it's a different scenario. Bailey Zappi still played great, but Brian Hoyer comes in, he gets injured. Now you're going to your third-string quarterback in Bailey Zappi that was not ready to start the game, wasn't the game plan, whatever. I mean, that's a game that should have won. So there's some games that the Patriots should have squeezed out, but just looking how bad their offense is, I'm sitting here saying, wow, like we're 6-4. We're in the playoffs right now. We're not even the last seed in the playoffs. We still have a lot of football to play for sure. Don't get me wrong. A lot of things can change. The AFC East too, but the AFC in general, it's hard knock this year. I mean, everyone's like the same record. It's a 1-2 game off from each other. So it's going to come down to the wire for everyone. It's going to rely on like tiebreakers and certain matchups going certain ways, certain teams winning, certain teams losing. But to say right now we're in the playoffs at 6-4 with one of the worst offenses in the NFL, it is absolutely absurd. And the only reason we are where we are today comes down to defense and special teams.
Yeah, you mentioned Mac Jones. I want to ask you about him. Last year he was a rookie Pro Bowler. This year it seems like he's taken a step back. What are your opinions of him, where he's at right now in year 2?
Yeah, man. Mac Jones has taken a step back. I'm not going to lie about that. But, I mean, I think people are doing the eye test rather than getting analytical with it, which is, hey, I'm happy I can step in and kind of be that voice for Patriots fans and be like, yo, guys, calm down. Because, I mean, we're talking about Bailey Zappi going on that 2-game win streak there, and he looked good. But, I mean, Mac Jones comes back against the Bears and immediately enters the game, and the entire crowd in Gillette Stadium is screaming Zappi. They want Zappi in the game over Mac Jones. And exactly, you are absolutely destroying your former first-round quarterback, who, again, just last year makes NFL top 100 and makes a Pro Bowl. Absolutely absurd. But there's a lot of factors around Mac Jones that are not making him succeed. This offensive line has taken an absolute gigantic step backwards. Our interception rate, I think we were 8th last year. Now we're 32nd. We're last in the league. Last year we were 8th. Also, we were top 10 in our offensive line, and now we're in the late 20s for our offensive line. And I don't have the exact numbers up here. I just found them. I should have kept them around. But the Patriots offensive line is allowing the most pressures to their quarterback than any other team in the National Football League, and only 8% 80% of those pressures and those sacks are on Mac Jones. So yeah, I feel like you look at the factors and it's like, how are you going to expect him to get anything going? He doesn't have time to throw the ball. His receivers aren't getting open, but then you have Matt Patricia coming in and you're not really getting your guys involved that were Mac Jones' top targets from last year. Last year, Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, and so Jacoby Myers, Hunter Henry, and Kendrick Bourne were the top 3 guys here for Mac Jones last year. And only one of those guys is involved, and that's Jacoby Myers. Outside of that, Kendrick Bourne hasn't been involved whatsoever. He's been one of the last guys on the receiving depth chart. And then Hunter Henry's really just been MIA, not even just this entire season, but since this entire offseason also. So, it goes from play calling and Matt Patricia, the way he's running, scheming things up on a week-to-week basis, play calling, and even personnel, but also mixing in the factor of the offensive line. And I always tell everyone on my channel, the offensive line is like an engine to a car, right? If the engine to your car is messed up, everything else about your car is going to be screwed up. It's just not going to work functionally. And that's the same thing to an offense. Your O-line's messed up. The running game's going to have issues. Your passing game's going to have issues because you're expecting Mac Jones to get the ball out and within 2 seconds be able to get the ball out. And we don't have the receivers for that.
That is music to our ears. I hope Zadarius Smith and Dale Hunter just light that offensive line up on Thursday. But you mentioned Bailey Zappi a few times, so we got to ask, is his honeymoon over? Is the thought of making a Disney movie about this guy down the drain?
He played great. He played great football. I'm not going to lie about it, but we also have to look at who he played. I mean, playing the Lions and the Browns, they've had some good moments, but at the end of the day, they're the Browns. They've taken a step back. Jacoby Brissett was that quarterback. And if you know the Patriots, they drafted Jacoby Brissett, so they know how to play him. So again, he looked good, but to what extent? I will also say that the Patriots and Matt Patricia, they were actually running play action about 20% of the time when Bailey Zappi was in at quarterback, but only about 8%. Only about 8 to 12% while Mac Jones was at quarterback, which is absolutely absurd because that's one of the best ways for your offense to be successful. But also, that was one of the things that Mac Jones succeeded with the most in college was those RPOs. And they just decided not to do it with him. They really were playing different offenses with Zappi versus Mac Jones, which I was screaming for them to just run the same damn offense with Mac that they were with Zappi in, and they just weren't. So I don't think Zappi is the starting quarterback everyone thinks that he's going to be. Like, I think this is a storyline that got blown so out of proportion that as a Patriots fan, I was sitting back absolutely heartbroken that this fan base was already coming down on Mac Jones, who has been nothing but a great guy, has been nothing but a leader. And like we said, his rookie year was absolutely spectacular. I do have a little bit of a soft spot for Mac, though, because when I was at training camp, I actually got his autograph. So I was right up next to him. And also I have a little bit of a soft spot, but still, nonetheless.
You can tell you love this guy more than anything in the world.
Yeah. But it's like the statistics show that, Mac Jones isn't as bad as everyone thinks. And you have to look at the other factors that are going into things, which I listed. So, I think the Patriots had a great selection with Bailey Zappi. He's a great backup quarterback, and I'm excited to see what he can do in the future. At the end of the day, he's a great backup option if things don't pan out with Mac. But at the end of the day, I think you're really rising that stock of Bailey Zappi. So at the very least, you get a second or third round pick out of him if you decide to trade him.
All right. Again, we're here with Colby from Patriots Global. Hit him up in the description below. Links will be there. I want to ask you about your first round pick, Cole Strange, a guy we loved. Actually, Onebar did a sweet interview with him back in March or April, whenever it was. But a guy, taken shockingly early, round 1. How has he been? Has he lived up to that first round status? And what was your reaction when they took him there?
Oh,
love this guy. Hey, he's my Mac Jones. You better watch him out.
Yeah. Watch him out.
Yeah. I gotta be careful what I say here. Well, I was actually live during the draft. It's like a yearly thing I do. And I brought on some Patreon members this past year. Nobody was happy about it. The Patriots traded down and you select a guard. Me personally, I'm not big about teams, or at least my team, selecting an interior offensive lineman so early on. I feel like the earliest to do it would be like the second round, unless for some reason this is a generational interior offensive lineman who can play both guard spots, center, like everything. And that's not what Cole Strange was, so I didn't love it. I thought that we had higher needs for sure. But I thought that, from rounds 2 to 7, the Patriots could find someone because, I mean, they got Mike Onwenu in the 6th round, so there's several guys. They got David Andrews, their starting center for the last several years. He was an undrafted free agent. They are elite at finding interior offensive linemen late on in the draft and even as undrafted. So I didn't love it. No one really loved it because, we have pressing needs at corner and other needs. So, it wasn't a flashy pick, which I think is why a lot of Patriots fans were upset. But as things progressed, we said, you know what? This could actually pan out very well for the Patriots. Like I said earlier, offensive line is like the engine to your car. So that needs to be built first before you start looking at other pieces you want to build to your offense. Before you're looking at quarterback, before you're looking at wide receiver or running back, like you need to make sure that your offensive line is built first so that everything else afterwards can run smoothly, which I feel like is what, NFL teams building from the bottom up are starting to do. They're starting to realize, build that O-line and then start building your quarterback and your receivers and build up from there. And he started to play great. I mean, the beginning of the season, he was playing great. He was playing scrappy. I mean, this guy does not finish until the whistle is blown, and that's something you have to love about him. He has that dog mentality in him, which, David Andrews has, our center. And let me tell you, that's why he's been a captain for several years. He's been a Patriot for his entire career, and he's a fan favorite too. And Cole Strange too. Like, he's another guy that I was able to meet during training camp. He was one of the nicest guys I've ever met within the Patriots facility. Such a great guy. But unfortunately, over the last few weeks, he's taken a gigantic step back and has not looked like a first-round pick. He's allowed several sacks over the last few weeks. He's been benched several times. He's been a rotational piece. Cool. Yeah, and I think part of that goes down to David Andrews, because David Andrews has been injured. He had a concussion a couple weeks ago, so he was out for about 2 weeks, and then goes down a little bit later in the game against the Jets with an injury. He's limited in this game against the Vikings, which I'm sure we'll end up talking about. But I think because of that, you have a guy like James Ferentz coming in who, isn't carrying as much of that weight for Cole Strange. A lot's being put on Cole that he's not ready for. And I believe in continuity along your offensive line. I don't believe in switching things up, is what the Patriots are doing game in and game out over the last several weeks. You have to have continuity on your offensive line, no matter how talented a guy is or not. That's how you're going to be successful. And I think that's screwing Cole Strange up a little bit. You have, because he plays left guard for us, you have left tackle who is going in and out with who's playing, whether that's Trent Brown, Isaiah Wynn, Yannick Kajus. Like, there's a lot of guys coming out on that side of him. Then it's David Andrews or James Ferentz in center. So I think there's a lot of factors going in, but he has not looked good over the last few weeks here.
Well, a guy who has looked good, big man Matt Judon, 13.5 sacks, tearing shit up left and right. And this Thursday, he gets to go against Blake Brandel and Ed Ingram, so he might double his sack total alone on Thursday night. But just, how good is this guy? How terrified should we be of him?
You should be absolutely terrified. It seems like, and I'm not saying this just like as a Patriots fan to hype things up. I'm genuinely saying that Matthew Judon seems to be back in the backfield every single play. He's disrupting passing lanes every single play. And even outside of Matthew Judon, we were asking who's going to be the guy opposite of him after the Patriots let go of Kyle Van Noy, right? And they found that guy. Josh Uche a couple of weeks ago against the Colts here put up 3 sacks also. You have Dietrich Wise, who is playing as one of the best edge rushers here in the NFL. So it's not like you can say, hey, let's avoid Matt Judon and run to the other side or scramble to the other side, because you go to the other end and you still have an elite side. But here with Matthew Judon, leads in sacks. He's top 5 in pressures. He's top 5 in quarterback hits. He's a true candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. And his numbers showcase that. And I think without Matthew Judon, our secondary would struggle a little bit more. But with how elite our defensive line has been with pass rush and being able to get to the quarterback, that's actually helped our secondary a lot. We don't have a whole lot of interceptions, but we are able to lock down wide receivers and receiver cores and offensive weapons here, whether that's tight ends or running backs out of the backfield, because our pass rush, Matt Judon, Dietrich Wise, Josh Uche, they are getting to the quarterback at such a fast rate. And that's a big reason why a couple of weeks ago when we were playing the Jets at MetLife, Zach Wilson had several sacks because he was scrambling outside of the pocket and throwing on the run. And you have your captains like Devin McCourty coming through and picking those passes off.
Yeah. You guys had a pretty nice little draft class. We already talked about a few of the picks, but this Jack Jones, this corner here, he was what, 6th round, 4th? Where did he end up getting taken? He's having a hell of a rookie
he was
campaign.
the 4th. Yeah, him and Marcus, I believe, were 4th.
Talk a little bit with these Jones boys, what they brought to the team this year.
Yeah, man. I mean, for a Bill Belichick who can't draft, right? Can't draft. He's had some good drafts over the last couple of years. I mean, I got to give him credit where credit's due. Before that, we've had some terrible drafts. But the last 2, maybe 3 years, we've had some really good drafts. Jack Jones was, before the bye week, was the highest graded corner for the entire first half of the season. Highest graded corner in the entire National Football League. Not just rookies, not just veterans. Out of every single cornerback, Jack Jones was the highest. And he's a guy that me personally, I like the potential of. I did not think it was going to go as well as it has year one. He was a guy that when Jonathan Jones, who is our cornerback one right now, who took that leap to outside corner this offseason with J.C. Jackson leaving to the Chargers, when he got injured, that's when Jack Jones kind of had to step in, and Jalen Mills getting injured. And the best he's played is CB2. We haven't seen him at CB1 yet. We've seen him between CB2 to CB3. So to say that he's a elite number one corner, let's not go that far. But he's shown a lot of good flashes for a guy who's a rookie and has not even played a full season yet. One thing I will say about him is that it's very dependent on who we're going to play and how much snaps he's going to get. If we're going to play a run-heavy offense, you're not going to see that much of Jack Jones. This past week against the Jets was actually the lowest snap count he had since week 1 here against the Dolphins, and that's because he's still young. He's still learning. He does not know how to tackle very well. He needs to wrap up from the legs, and he does, and he wraps up from the torso up, which I'm sure you guys know you can't do that. You're not going to be successful. Guys are shaking him off. But then more in the run game, he's getting lost. He's not making the tackles. He doesn't know what he's doing. So in coverage, Jack Jones is an absolute beast. He's had several interceptions. One was a pick 6 against the Packers. But he's not an elite overall all-around cornerback. And he has a lot of ways to continue to improve and keep going. But, as for Marcus Jones, he's another guy that I think has taken a big step from, week 1 to where we are now. Bill Belichick even said it himself after the game against the Jets that, he's like, I'm not going to lie, Marcus Jones was not ready week 1. He was nowhere close to being ready. But, after a few weeks working with Troy Brown, former Patriots Hall of Famer wide receiver, he took leaps to go forward. And how good is he defensively? We don't know yet. We haven't seen him that much. He's shown some really nice flashes. He looks like he's going to be the future of the Patriots slot cornerback. He's not an outside. He's a slot. But he's a guy who used to play on offense, then switched to cornerback. So, Bill Belichick loves those versatile kind of guys, can play outside, can play inside, but expect him to be more of an inside slot cornerback. But right now, he's really just playing special teams. And, he's one of the best returners in the entire National Football League since he's taken over for the Patriots in that category, and has the first return touchdown in the NFL this season last week against the Jets. So,
Belichick loves drafting guys named Jones more than you like getting Mac Jones' signature.
Dude, I'm honestly we're all getting so confused. I mean, the announcers are announcing their names and messing them up. Someone said that the Patriots are gonna have to do that thing where they do the first couple initials of the first name and then the last name, because there's 8 Joneses on this team right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just noticed that.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's three of our corners are Jones. So
it's nuts.
It's absurd. It's absurd.
Your rookie class is amazing. I pretty much had a man crush on everybody you guys drafted. So well,
you might have been the only one. One.
I'm usually not right. I just
we don't love
maybe not where they were drafted, but yeah,
that's fair.
All right, let's talk offense. You pretty much, I think I already know the answer to this. I mean, you guys got some names on offense. Your offense should be producing. Does this solely come down to the offensive line woes, or is there a deeper issue?
I want to say it mainly comes down to the offensive line. And, I'm not going to say, hey, Mac Jones has nothing to do with this, because he still does. There's still some passes who are thrown at receivers' feet. There's some that are 10 yards past a guy. You can't blame that on play calling. Can't blame that on scheme. Can't blame that on the offensive line. That's on Mac. Not to mention the several turnovers he's had. But also with that being said, a lot of that was miscommunication with receivers and whatnot. So that is something I will say. So I don't think Mac Jones is taking the huge step back that everyone's saying, but I think he's taking a little bit of a step back. But, like I said, I think mainly it's the offensive line, but it's also Matt Patricia. I don't love what Patricia has done. I don't love what Joe Judge and Matt Patricia have done working with Mac Jones. I mean, taking that second-year leap as a quarterback, I mean, that's one of the most important steps in a young quarterback's career. And you absolutely just left him alone and expected, Brian Hoyer to basically coach him up. But like I said, that's not the only issues. I think play calling is very concerning. I mean, we were in the red zone against the Colts the other week. 5 yards, had to punch it in. We were 5 yards, 5 to 10 yards out. We go run play, stopped, run play, stopped. And then we go quarterback scramble with Mac Jones, stopped. What do? We settle for a field goal, which should have essentially been an easy, touchdown for us. But instead, we're settling for 3 points. So it's play calling like that. And like I said, it's personnel. What are we doing? I mean, to start the season, for like the first quarter of the season, we were having Lil Jordan Humphrey, who was at that point getting elevated from the practice squad, playing more snaps than Kendrick Bourne, who was a fringe 1,000-yard receiver last year, is Mac Jones' best friend, and was wide receiver 2 for the Patriots last year by the end of the season. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you not getting these guys involved that proved to be productive for Mac Jones last year? And hey, we're finally getting Jonnu involved, which is something we didn't see last year, but it shouldn't be a situation where, hey, we're getting Jonnu involved this year, so we're going to take Hunter Henry out of the equation here. No, you are paying the most money to tight ends in the entire National Football League. You need to get both of those guys involved, and it's something we haven't done.
Well, let's stick with this offense. And we've seen Bill Belichick do some crazy stuff, like, throw the ball once. I think that was last year he did that.
Against the Bills,
how do you expect him? And I know it's Tuesday. You probably haven't delved into the Vikings too much yet, but how do you expect him attacking this Vikings defense that could be down to quarterback 4? Maybe Duke Shelley gets the start. I mean, it's looking pretty bad there opposite Patrick Peterson.
Duke.
Yeah, I like Patrick Peterson. I know he's gotten a little bit of hate here and there, but he's not the cornerback he once was, but I think he's still a very good cornerback. He still plays at a high level. I think he's proven that for you guys, especially against the Bills, which, by the way, thank you guys for that. That might have been the game of the year. We have a long way to go, but that might have been the game of the year. That was such a great game to watch. Oh my God. But defensively here, I mean, I look at the numbers too. I mean, the Patriots defense obviously is better than the Vikings defense from all statistical standpoints. Passing yards per game, the Patriots are allowing 188 versus the Vikings allowing 267 pass yards a game. Patriots are allowing 114 rush yards per game. The Vikings are allowing 121. The only category you beat us in is takeaways. We have 17. You guys have 18. But third down efficiency, we allow 36%. You guys allow 41%. Points per game, we're allowing 16. You guys are allowing 23. So, honestly, the only thing that scares me is your ability to get some pressure here on Mac Jones. Your defensive line, I think, is a little bit underrated. I think you guys have a pretty good defensive line, but your secondary is just not there. So I think if the Patriots are going to take advantage, they're going to get this pass game going. Like, this is going to be the time to do so. It wasn't the time against the Jets, who have one of the best defenses in the National Football League, both from a pass rush standpoint and a secondary standpoint. And that's not my opinion. That, unfortunately, is a fact. But here, I mean, if the Patriots want to win this game, it's going to be a lot of Ramondre Stevenson running the ball down your throat, controlling that clock, time of possession. But this is going to be the game where you try to get your receivers open. And hey, I think Devontae Parker could get a couple shots down the field and get some big plays from him. I think this is a perfect time to do that.
All right, we got Colby from Patriots Global joining us. A couple more to wrap this thing up. Be sure to give him a sub down in the description. Well, that was kind of depressing, everything you just listed off. So I appreciate that. But let's give us a little hope here. Aside from the offensive line, what would you say is the Patriots' greatest weakness where you think the Vikings could take a little advantage of?
Besides the Patriots' offensive line, I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you want to win this game, it's going to come down to you need to control this clock. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the Patriots aren't going to put up much points either way, but you want to make sure that they're not putting points up. Nick Folk is very, very good. He's very consistent. The Patriots even get down to the 40. That's like a guaranteed 3 points for us. So you want to make sure that they can't even get there and just absolutely shut them down. It shouldn't be hard for you to be able to limit this offense. defensively, it's hard to say what is the Patriots' real, issue, because I look at it and I honestly don't see an issue with this defense. They've been very consistent. Last week in the second half against the Jets, they were allowing just over 2 inches per play, not 2 yards, 2 inches. That for reference is about the length of your phone. That's what they were averaging per play. I mean,
like Lupagus's parts, actually.
That's for sure.
Yeah, right.
I was gonna say that actually.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, so it's hard to say, like, how can you be successful against this defense? But I mean, I think at the end of the day, the Patriots are going to they're going to try to take away Justin Jefferson. That's going to be their guy that they're going to try to take away. I think for you guys, the best way to go up against this defense would be to run a lot of RPOs. That's the best way to be successful. You guys have Dalvin Cook in the backfield and Justin Jefferson at wide receiver. If you can't figure out how to be successful with that, I don't know how you're ever going to be successful. I think that's the best way to be able to do this. And this is going to be a true testament for you guys. I think you guys are a top 4 team in the National Football League, especially when it comes to Super Bowl. I have you guys in the top 4 for my teams. So with that being said, this is going to be a testament for you. You know what I'm saying? If you play the Eagles or the 49ers or whatever, you're going to be going up against great defenses. This is going to be a true time to see what you guys have. I think you added a really nice piece at the trade deadline in TJ Hawkinson. You've needed a tight end for the longest time. You finally added a very good one. I thought that was one of the most surprising trades at the trade deadline. Watching him over the last couple of weeks, I don't think he's there yet. He's still figuring it out. He's still getting that communication down and learning the playbook. But I think once he figures that out, he's going to be a dynamic piece for you, and you have to figure that out. And I think in this game, if you can get, Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, and TJ Hawkinson going, it's going to be hard for the Patriots to stop that. And at the end of the day, you don't have to go putting up, 25, 30 points against us, because we're not going to put up those points. So with that being said, you just have to put up a couple touchdowns against our defense, and you'll likely come out with the win.
Well, nice. So that being said, I mean, you didn't really tip your hand either way. You praised both teams. How do you think this thing's going to shake out on Thanksgiving night when all of our bellies are full?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's really tough. It's really tough to say. Like I said, these primetime games are really hard. Luckily for you guys, it's a home game. It's not a home game for us. So, we have to travel too. So you guys have that advantage. You have the home field advantage. I'm happy that you guys don't have a whole lot more time to prepare than we do. We both played on Sunday. So it's going to be a short week for all of us. The question is going to come down to who prepared the best. Which team prepared the best? Which coach coached the best? That's what this is going to come down to for me. And I don't know, in past history, I've seen the Patriots not do so great on short weeks going into prime time. So that scares me. But I mean, looking at our defense puts numbers up over, your defense. So I think that this is going to be a game that Patriots offense can have a little bit more success. I think we saw a little bit improvements from the bye week going on to the Jets, who again do have one of the best defenses. So like I said, I'm expecting the Patriots to have a better game offensively this week than they did last week. And again, I'm hoping to see some more production from that passing game and to see us actually punching in the end zone a couple of times. I gotta say, I'm gonna go with the Patriots here, just because I had the Patriots winning this game in my preseason record prediction. So I still got to roll with that. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be more of a low scoring game, but I'm going to say that this ends up being a 14-17 win for the Patriots just by a field goal.
There you have it. Colby from Patriots Global. Greatly appreciate you coming on, man. That was fantastic.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you guys for having me on. Seriously.
It was wonderful. Hit up his links down in the description. Give him a sub after the Vikings beat him on Thursday. Go give him some shit in the comments.
Respectfully. You can give me a hate in the comments if you guys beat us. You can do it. I understand.
All right. Thank you, sir. Awesome. Good luck on Thursday.
You too, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.